There is a coop floor in central Vermont that has not been cleaned in 3 years, not spot cleaned, not scooped, scraped, or shoveled. The last time a shovel entered that coop to remove material was spring of 2022. The floor today is 14 inches deep, warm to the touch in February without a heat source running, and producing finished compost at the bottom that tests at 3.2% nitrogen, better than most bagged amendment at any garden center. 12 birds, 3 years. 40 minutes of total management in 2024. Here is the first question. The research documenting exactly how this works was published in 1949 by the Ohio Agricultural Experiment Station. It was cited twice, filed in a university archive, and never incorporated into a single mainstream extension service recommendation. Why does a 75-year-old system for eliminating the most labor-intensive recurring task in backyard poultry keeping still exist only in archives? Here is the second question. The average backyard flock keeper cleaning a conventionally managed coop spends 40 to 60 hours per year on litter removal, disinfection, and rebedding, plus $80 to $140 annually on pine shavings, straw, and disinfectant. A correctly built deep litter floor eliminates almost all of it. Who profits from the system that keeps you doing it? Stay with me because there is a third question, and I will not answer it until the end. The 1949 Ohio research documented something the commercial poultry medication industry found considerably more inconvenient than the labor savings: a 40% reduction in respiratory mortality in heritage flocks managed on deep litter compared to conventionally cleaned flocks. 40%. Published in 1949, never appeared in a farm store recommendation. Why? The American poultry bedding market generates approximately $3.4 billion annually from small flock keepers, pine shavings, pelleted bedding, coop deodorizers, disinfectant sprays, litter amendments. Every one of these products exists because the standard coop protocol install 4 inches of bedding. Clean when soiled, replace every 4 to 8 weeks, creates a recurring purchase cycle. A floor that manages itself through microbial activity, requires 1 carbon addition per year, and never needs full removal, generates 0 revenue for that market. What cannot be sold does not get taught. The deep litter method has not appeared in a mainstream recommendation since the commercial bedding supply chain was built around the system it replaces. The 1949 Ohio numbers are worth stating directly. Heritage flocks on established deep litter showed 40% lower respiratory mortality than flocks on replaced bedding. The microbial ecology of properly managed deep litter actively suppressed Aspergillus, E. coli, and Salmonella colonization. Ambient floor temperature in an established deep litter coop ran 2 to 4 degrees Celsius above ambient air in winter, generated entirely by microbial thermogenesis, 0 purchased heat. Litter pulled from an 18 to 24-month floor, tested at 2 to 4% nitrogen, finished compost, ready for the garden. That research was filed in 1949. The bedding supply catalog was built in the 1950s. Now you are 3 minutes in, and I need you to stay, because the establishment sequence matters. One step done incorrectly produces a floor that smells like ammonia and confirms every skeptic's assumption. The sequence is the reason it works. Step 1. The carbon base. 4 to 6 inches of coarse wood chips, straw, dried leaves, or any combination across the entire coop floor before birds enter. This is not bedding. This is the foundation of a biological system. The carbon ratio of the starting material determines whether the substrate runs aerobic earth smell, active biology, heat, or anaerobic ammonia, pathogens, the smell of a failed coop. Get the carbon base right and everything follows. Step 2. Inoculate. This is the step most failed deep litter builds are missing. Scatter 1 shovelful of finished compost across the carbon base before the birds enter. You are seeding the substrate with the microbial community that drives the entire system. Without inoculation, biology develops eventually through natural colonization in weeks. With inoculation, it establishes in days and the system is functional before the first significant manure load hits the floor. One shovelful, the difference between a floor that works immediately and one that struggles for a month. Step 3. Let the birds work. The scratching behavior of heritage breeds, the same foraging instinct that makes them effective on pasture, aerates the substrate, continuously distributes manure through the carbon material, and maintains the aerobic conditions the microbial community requires. The scratching is not incidental. It is the system's primary maintenance mechanism. A heritage flock on deep litter is not just living on the floor. It is managing it. Step 4. Monitor moisture. This is the only active management the floor requires. Deep litter functions within a moisture range to dry and microbial activity slows, to wet and anaerobic conditions develop. Target: the moisture content of a wrung-out sponge. In a correctly ventilated coop, and ventilation is not optional, natural airflow handles moisture through most of the year. In extended wet weather or winter, add a thin layer of fresh carbon material over any visibly wet area. That is the full intervention. Step 5. Annual carbon addition. As the substrate compresses over 12 to 18 months, add a 4 to 6 inch top layer of fresh carbon. This replenishes the carbon ratio and extends the floor's active life. An established deep litter floor runs 2 to 3 years before accumulated depth requires partial harvest. The harvested material goes directly to the garden. The floor continues. The labor arithmetic is direct. Conventional cleaning on a flock of 10 to 12 birds, 1 to 2 hours every 4 to 6 weeks, plus 30 minutes of spot cleaning weekly. Annual total, 40 to 60 hours. Annual bedding cost, $80 to $140. Deep litter on the same flock. 1 carbon addition annually, 2 hours maximum. Annual material cost, $8 to $12. Annual labor savings, 40 to 55 hours. Annual material savings, $70 to $130 every year. Compounding indefinitely. The floor pays for itself in the first month. Every month after is recovered time and recovered money. Here is the answer to the third question. The 40% respiratory mortality reduction is the number the commercial poultry medication market found inconvenient. A floor that actively suppresses Aspergillus and E. coli through competitive microbial ecology does not produce the respiratory conditions that medicated feeds. Coop disinfectants and probiotic water additives were developed to address. Those products do not treat the cause of respiratory illness in poorly managed conventional flocks. They treat the symptom. The 1949 research documented the floor as the solution. The solution was filed. The symptom treatments were sold. The medicated feed and coop treatment market for backyard poultry generates approximately $600 million annually. Roughly 30% of that spend traces to respiratory and digestive illness in conventionally managed flocks. Conditions the 1949 data suggests a correctly managed deep litter floor substantially reduces. That floor costs $8 in wood chips and 1 shovelful of compost to establish. One floor in central Vermont, 14 inches deep. Warm in February. 3.2% nitrogen at the bottom. 40 minutes of management last year. The research did not disappear because it was wrong. It disappeared because it was right about something a $3.4 billion market needed you not to know. The floor builds in an afternoon. The shovel retires the day you finish it.